Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 3rd of October, and this is Indexer Office Hours 127. If anyone is new to Indexer Office Hours, this is the town square for graph ecosystem participants to come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. This is a conversation. We love participation, so if you would like to get involved in today's conversation, please do get involved via the chat box in the corner or by unmuting your mic. If you're having any issues unmuting your mic, let me know and I can get that sorted for you. As many of you have heard, we are recording this and this will be posted onto public channels like YouTube. So if you're concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's exciting agenda. So opening remarks, I always give a shout out to 𝗨𝗂𝗧𝗧, and today is no different. It is GRT podcast 136, and this is with Thierry. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and he is the co-founder and COO of 𝗨𝘀𝗲𝗂𝗧𝗧. I'm sure many of you know 𝗨𝘀𝗲𝗧𝗧 are quite active in the graph ecosystem, but if you don't know, they are a data solutions company that uses the graph infrastructure to build various different products and services. They released their 𝗨𝘀𝗲𝗧𝗧's API, which is a novel solution aimed at streamlining the user experience of using the graph. And I believe they did a presentation on that a while ago, a couple of weeks ago. So please do check that out. And that's the podcast. Okay, great. Already see some links in the chat here for the agenda as well as the GRT-IQ episode. So there we go. Go check those out. Fantastic. So that's it for opening remarks. I will hand over to Juan, who's going to take us into your protocol watch.
Thanks. So getting into protocol watch, we have a few things to cover, mostly for forum governance. Getting into it, the first thing, chain identification and aliasing for the graph protocol. There's a small update from Matthew regarding 𝗨𝗨𝗧𝗧 CIIPs that they will be truncated to fit the 32 bytes. Next up, we have 𝗨𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗧. This is one that's quite interesting for indexers. We kind of covered a little bit of it, I think during last IOH with Ariel. Basically, it's 𝗨𝗂𝗧𝗧 is for early allocation closure. This is a GIP that aims to tackle the issue about same epoch allocation clauses to kind of make life a little bit easier for indexers when they're reallocating and having some issues with those allocations being suboptimal in certain scenarios where other indexers are also reallocating. So ideally, allocation clauses right away. Yeah, hopefully that's basically streamlined into the process pretty fast. But yeah, that's 𝗨𝗂𝗧𝗧𝗨. 𝗨𝗂𝗧𝗨61 is improvements to the GIP process. This is proposed by Pablo based on the experience of having like a bunch of GIPs and having the knowledge that some of the parts of the process that was originally in place is not really that helpful, like I think GRPs, which are not really being used at all. So streamlining the process to make it a little bit simpler for people to improve the protocol as the GIPs are basically thought for. So yeah, that's 𝗨𝗂𝗧𝗨61. Next up, we have two integration for chains. One is for meter network, which has a bunch, thread has a bunch of data for the network itself. I think it's quite well explained. Pedro is already in contact with them, as far as I'm aware, due to the thread response. And then there's decimal smart chain integration, which, as far as I could see, it wasn't so well documented as the meter network. So hopefully there's a little bit of feedback there with those, lack of documentation or anything. But hopefully those can be streamlined into the to be integrated relatively soon, if it can be done so. Next up, we have 𝗨𝗨𝗨𝗪𝗡, which is quite a controversial topic, but thankfully we have a lot of discussion and a lot of feedback on it. It's replacing bonding curves with indexing fees. There has been a lot of debate on that thread, and there was also a proposal to cover this topic in IOH eventually. by Justin. So yeah, hopefully we can have a more thorough discussion during Indexer office hours, so that we can get to the bottom of it, figure out how to improve the GIP, and figure out some alternatives if the GIP can't proceed as it is. So yeah, that's it for forum governance. For the rest of the sections, forum research, contracts, and network subgraphs, we don't have any updates since last IOH, so I'll just hand it over to Abel now.
Awesome. And I will hand it swiftly to Anna to take us into Repo Watch.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Okay, so today's Repo Watch is busy, but that's okay. On execution layer clients, we have had 3 new releases for Aragon, from the least recent to the most recent. We have 250 that introduces, so Cancun is fully implemented, and it contains the initial implementation of Polygon milestones, and this requires board milestones to be set. Then the next one is 250.1, which fixes a patch with excessive RAM reserved for Polygon, and the most recent one is 250.2. If you haven't, the 250.2 includes fixes for Polygon, including a fix for a critical startup issue, which was causing panic if you're running milestones. So if you haven't tried any of these releases yet, you are best to skip to the most recent one, so 250.2. Moving on to Get, we have a new release 1.13.1. This is a hotfix release for 1.13.0, and it fixes the active fork detection on the engine API, a database corruption in path scheme, and it also fixes getDB inspect. On Firehose Ethereum, we have released number 1.4.16. This fixes a data issue found in Polygon blocks. So blocks that contain a single system transaction have index equal 1 for that transaction instead of index equal 0. And for that, if you have started reprocessing the Polygon blockchain blocks using release 1.4.14 or 1.4.15, when you upgrade to this new version, you will need to run the following command to fix those blocks, and I will just send you the command in chat really quick. I see Vince is saying Aragon upgrades has given him PTSD. Doing it on Polygon scares me even more. Wondering if you want to expand a bit more on that. I haven't tried the 251 and 250, but the 250 works well with it mainnet and it Holsky now. Yeah, but just wondering if there's any specific problems that you guys may have seen that we should all be aware of. In the meantime, there's typing happening. New release for Nethermind 1.21.0. This is a full release from a previous pre-release, and the most important thing here is that the Nethermind executables have been renamed. So Nethermind.runner is now just Nethermind. Nethermind launcher is now Nethermind-launcher, and Nethermind CLI is now Nethermind-CLI. 2 new releases on Arbitrum Nitro, so 2.1.0, which adds support for L3 Arbitrum Orbit chain and improves batch post reliability, including various new RPC features. And this, you need to be aware of some changing in the configuration. So L2.chainID has been renamed to chain.id. L1.url has been renamed to parent chain, that connection URL, and there's a few others, so please do check the release notes. And then here we also have 2.1.1, which fixes archive nodes which were broken in the previous release. So if you haven't yet tried 2.1.0 on Arbitrum Nitro, skip directly to 2.1.1 because 2.1.0 has bugs with archive nodes. And that is it. We have had a few small alpha releases on Subgraph Radio for version 0.1.8. But apart from that, that is it. Handing over to you, Abel.
Amazing. Thank you so much both for the respective sections there. Cool. Now I'm going to hand over to Kevin from Pinax, who's going to share a presentation with us.
Sure thing. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you. And thanks, Abel, for the intro. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate being here. Just FYI, I am sick AF, so if I happen to disappear for 5 seconds, it's because I'm coughing and I'm muted. So I'm just gonna let you guys know that now. But thanks for inviting me. I do have a few slides to share. You can see that on the screen now. Just helps me focus and not blab too long about anything in particular. We're here to talk about technical documentation, and I hope that's of interest to you all. We're going to walk through a couple things here. Before I do that, though, I just want to thank you all, obviously, for listening and being here, but I want to thank the Doc Squad team as well. We meet every Tuesday. I just joined the team about a month ago, and we talk about documentation issues and what's going on, how to improve things. So big thanks to Adam, Alex, Benoit, Orjan, Michael, and the others on the team there, too. Just a bit about me. I'm project manager, scrum master by trade. So a lot of this is still fairly new to me. So they've been really helpful in helping me learn how to approach this. So I'm really appreciative to them. The deck that I've got, we've only got 3 basic questions that I'm going to answer for you all. One is, who am I? Because most of you don't know who I am. So I'll just tell you a bit more about myself. Then I'll talk about what we're going to do. We have a survey, basically the Coles Notes version is we have a survey. We're going to be asking opinions on the current indexer documentation, the graph documentation about indexers. So we're going to ask your opinions on that. So that's the Coles Notes version, but we'll get into a couple more things as well. And happy to answer any questions and take any comments in the chat or audio. I know we've got some time today, so if we want to get into a bit of the conversation today, that's fine with me as well. So as far as who I am, program manager at Pinax, been there about a year. I started as essentially like a scrum master, project manager with the dev teams, helping get things organized on the dev side. Roles evolved quite a bit, and I'm now kind of running the knowledge team, which means we are working on the Pinax blog that just launched recently and helping coordinate our work on the graph docs. If you're interested in stuff like certifications, I do have a couple. I'm a project management professional. I'm a certified Scrum Master person as well. And what's mostly of interest to me in this subject today is I've got a long history with knowledge projects, learning, training, technical documentation. A lot of you already know Matthew Darwin, for example. I used to work with him decades ago when I was working on a lot of technical documentation projects with our former company. So I've got a long history there. And if you happen be a LinkedIn kind of person, I'm even going to be so bold. I'll post my there in the chat. I post my LinkedIn because you can read all about me there. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn in terms of project management stuff. So if you're curious, you can go there too. So here's what we're going to do. The graph asked Pinax to help with the documentation, learning materials about the graph, about substreams, about Firehose. So that's what we're going to do. One of the things we wanted to do with that is launch this new blog, which we just launched a week or so ago. We're writing articles about, lots of in-depth work about Firehose, about substreams, about the graph, about other work that we're doing. But we also are tasked with helping with documentation that exists on the graph documentation site. So I joined the Doc Squad. I just had a shout out to those guys earlier, but wanted to learn more about the existing processes and how we can actually help. I know there's a lot of documentation. I know there's a lot of people who have an interest. I know there's a lot of people who are contributing and raising PRs and doing fixes and things like that. but I needed to understand more just general context of who uses it, why they use it, and what issues they might have, because that would really drive our understanding. And if we're going to restructure the documentation, or we're going to compose new sections or whatever that is, that should come from indexers. That should come from the community. So really want to make sure that everybody has a say into how we approach that. So I suggested we do that with a survey. There's lots of ways, obviously, we can do it. I've worked with surveys before. I find them fairly useful. So I'll provide the link here in a minute, so you guys can all jump on that if you like. But really, the goals for the survey and for this discussion that we're having is really to help restructure the documentation that exists now, and then help coordinate writers and contributors to make it happen. It's one thing to say, great, we want to create this whole new section, or we want to create this whole new area, or make these a large number of changes. We also have to coordinate the resources to do the work. So that's going to be part of what we want to do going forward as well. And ultimately, my goal is to have a proposal by beginning of November. So it gives us a few weeks to tally survey results, but we were also looking at, there's a tool that lets us analyze the search, people that search in the documentation as well. So we can see, successful searches, we can see unsuccessful searches. We can also see the popularity of different pages. So we're looking at that data as well, just to get a better sense of what is being used in the documentation, and what things are going well, what things are not going well. So currently, that's where we are. We're gathering usage data and anecdotal data. And if you want to help, here comes another link in the chat box. Pop that in right there. We just launched this yesterday, so it's live now. It's just a Google form, really simple. Take about 10 minutes to do. And we're going to ask that, obviously we're talking about it here. We'll be posting it in various Discord channels and on Slack as well, so everybody can have a chance to engage. But we're really hoping to get feedback by next week, so October 11th. So we might be able to have an opportunity next week, maybe able to mention this again, just to remind folks that this is active, but we really want to make sure that everybody has a chance. So figure about a week is a good amount of time to do that. And okay, well, I'll make a fix of that. Thank you. We didn't test it outside the organization. I'll do that. So stay tuned for the update. I'll repost the link later, obviously. So what we want to do is review all of the suggestions. We want to make sure that when we propose a new structure or any new change to the documentation, that people have a say in it. So we're going to do that. So I'll fix the link. So again, my apologies there. Didn't realize it didn't work outside the organization. So I'll redo that. But you can get in touch with me through Discord. There's my hookup there, through Slack. Or if you're more analog, you want to send me an email, that's fine too. So yeah, basically, and I mean that's kind of the end of the discussion. So however you might want to send your feedback, we are open to receiving it. We really want to make sure that documentation is useful for people who are just starting to learn, and people who are already learning and trying to become more and more level, or higher levels of expertise in indexing. So we're going to get on that. So I'm just going to unshare my screen. There we go. If anybody has thoughts, questions, perspectives they'd like to throw in, I will update the form. I might even be able to do that live now. Let me get into it now. But if anyone would like to throw in a comment, please go for it. And I'm happy to have a conversation now, because I think we've got some time.
Yes, we do indeed. We've got some time, and yeah, I've obviously heard some comments about the docs, and I know a few people. I'm not sure if Payne is still here. I know he's not here, but Payne has some thoughts. But yeah, if anyone else does, please do. This is a great opportunity to inform and have input into the restructure of the docs. So far away.
It's just too much information for right now. That's fine. You can think about it.
Good point, Derek.
Seeing that now. Docs are also fed by awesome QA bot in Discord. That would be great. I'm not sure I've seen that. So if you can send me a note, maybe we can get access to that and see what kind of data comes up there, Derek. That'd be great. Vince, that's a really good question. Indexer DAO, have had some conversations about Indexer DAO. I'm not too familiar with them yet. I know they're also working on docs, and that's part of what we want to do is come up with a plan, an overall plan, so we can determine who's going to do what updates and when. So that's really part of the whole process there. So if we can get everybody coordinated there, that would be the next step.
Is anyone here from Indexer DAO? Vince. Okay, nice. Great. Well, yeah, I trust that you guys will coordinate to make sure that there's minimal overlap.
Yeah, Vince, you can reach out. Drop me a note and be glad to chat more. Thanks.
Amazing. Yeah, guys, fire away. I know that there's folks who have played around with Firehose, so I'm sure that there are things that people desire from the docs or input like this.
Nick's got a question. Does anyone have strong opinions on gaps in the docs and indexers that should be prioritized? That's exactly the kind of thing we want to know. Hint, again, if this link was working, that would have been much better. I'm gonna try this link now in the chat. You can just tell me if that works. If it doesn't, I might just have to rebuild it because apparently it only works for people within our organization. Not working. Okay, thanks, Marc Andre. Fix it.
Sweet. Vince has said FAQ for common errors that are asked quite often in Discord. Are there any ones that are sticking out to you that you've come across lately or you've seen commonly be asked? I see Vince is typing. I see Derek is also typing as well. Oh, that's a good one from Derek. Do you want to look into that? Um, nice. Another one from Vince. Thanks. Oh, that's good to know, Derek. There's some good stuff coming through on the comments. What are your thoughts on this, Kevin?
Or just unmuting. We're doing tutorial on the Builders DAO. I've run a few gotcha so far. Interesting. It's ultimately be beneficial for indexing consumers. When you'll had to index new software. Yeah, I'm glad to see there's lots of comments again, sort of the forum. I'm seeing a couple of comments there. I was just actually trying to rebuild it. This is exactly the kind of feedback we want. So I'm really happy to see the chat starting. If anybody would like to go on mic and talk about their thoughts a bit, that'd be fine too. Happy to engage a bit more in the conversation, but the chat's good too. We can copy all that out and start adding it to our discussions.
It seems like Vince is linked to something there. Things like this where if you've missed it, well, then you have no idea.
Yeah, I've been hearing that there's gaps. I'm just not sure always what the gaps are, right?
Mm.
Put a new link in the chat here. Let's hope this one's working.
Yep, that one works. Amazing.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Rocket ships. That makes me happy. I'm curious too. One of the things we were talking about in the Doc Squad was, I mean, there's folks who have had experience and kind of figured things out and are looking for much more advanced information, right? But like one of the questions on the survey is, what would you like to have known when you started? Because one of the barriers maybe to entry or barriers to really learning this is that base level knowledge. So I'm curious what you might consider to be a gap in more base level, substreams information. So I'm curious if anybody has thoughts there.
There's a few responses there in the chat, Kevin. I'm not sure if you can see, but yeah, they seem to be pointing at yeah.
Like Nick's comment, but sound effects. Thanks for that. You're out there. Text is fine. That's why the survey is text form. That's perfect. Another option, we do have these graph or sort of these Doc Squad meetings on Tuesdays. You can drop me a note too if you'd like to join. If you have any particular issues you might like to talk about that you want to make sure to resolve, that's an option too. So we can also engage in that kind of stuff. Indexer workflows, Vince, that's a good topic. Having all the commands is great, but what order should you use them? Yeah, that's something I've found a lot, and that goes back to, I mean, years ago working on doc projects where there's like, a reference manual or something like that, right? That just lists all the different commands, but doesn't necessarily give you the context or the order that you need to use them to resolve something. So that's kind of where it borders onto from documentation almost into training, because you're running somebody through a scenario. So if Vince, if you want to fill in the survey, a good opportunity there would be to describe the scenarios that you're working through, and I'm sure that you won't be the only one, working through that same thing. So it might be a good idea. Another good comment, Vince, about the gap in what can be accomplished with metrics. Yep, that's a really good point too. Okay, well, look, Abel, I know there's a couple more comments coming in, but there was other business you needed or wanted to get to. I mean, feel free. I feel bad. There's kind of a lot of blank as I'm kind of reading through this through the comments. Happy to engage with anybody later on as well.
No worries. The rest of the conversation is an open one, so we can continue. I actually would love to, ensure that we get a sufficient amount of feedback because, yeah, this is obviously a very important initiative to improve the doc. So yeah, no worries, we can keep going.
Sure. Nick for the win there. That's a good one. Not so fast, Matthew.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll continue in the chat if people have any additional thoughts, but if not, then yeah, we'll move on into the open part of this call. So if anyone has any thoughts, comments, questions, um, just to flag, I am working on getting a conversation going on 𝗨𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗪🐐. 58. There's a few things that need to be sorted out on the back end with some folks in order for that conversation to happen. So yeah, it's being worked on. It's obviously a very big one, so I'm sure many people have questions and input. But of course, best place to go is to go to the forums and have your voice be heard. But rest assured, we will have a conversation on that roughly in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks. But obviously, I'll keep everyone posted on that there. Cool. Any questions, or we can obviously continue going on with the feedback on the docs as well. We have an open session, or we can pivot the conversation into a new topic as well. The choice is yours. Yes. Yes, this is the conversation on the upgrade indexer, right? Right, Derek? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that could be interesting. So yeah, maybe not to put Nick on the spot there, but since you're in the foundation quite close to ENN, maybe do you have any words to say to that, or of course not to put you on the spot. If nothing, if there's nothing to say, but yeah, if you do, that'd be great.
Well, I am on the spot, but look, I think I saw the post too and was interested to read it, and I like it. I think it's strategic in the sense that it's going to push things the direction I think everybody here wants to go. I suspect there'll be a lot more information coming. Beyond that, I don't know what more to say.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a post as well. If anyone hasn't read, let me go ahead and find the forum post. Let me just grab it now. It goes into more detail. Here we are. So have a read of that. That should give more context on what's been been planned. Still very early, but yeah, it's this post has been out for almost a month, so yeah, yeah, it's a good place to kind of check out. And I guess what from my understanding, the recent posts from Tegan are basically highlighting this and bringing this back into the fold. So yeah, does anyone have any specific thoughts, questions? I mean, we can if anyone has any specific questions on this, what we can do is we can get someone from ENN maybe to speak to this next week, if that's interesting or useful for people.
Well, it's not a question, more as a general comment. I think the plan of using deploying a upgraded Nexer, having Edge and Node deploying an upgraded Nexer is great, on the condition that I would say regular or independent indexers have the opportunity to participate, and that will involve or require Edge and Node to engage with the indexers and communicate in advance some data, some statistics, maybe a list of networks, list of subgraphs, some query projections, things like that, so that indexers can prepare and be ready for that big day.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, and I would assume, yeah, it's the natural thing to do. But it'd be great to confirm that ENN will do this. I saw your post on the in the forum mentioning a similar sentiment. So yeah, I appreciate you flagging this because it's very important. Yeah, maybe I mean if there's appetite, then yeah, let's definitely get someone from ENN involved, and maybe you can shed some light on this. I will make a note. I know that Nick is also looking into this, so I'll coordinate with Nick on that there. Let me just make a note. All right, cool. There we go. Amazing. Let's see. If they. All right, let's see. Nick's asked a question. Actually, Vince has asked a question. Allocations for 002 be closed by others. Yeah, it seems like Derek's answered that. What is the follow-up question? Oh, here it is. Okay, I can see the in regards to 0GOT allos by backstop index. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's an interesting point, Vince. Um, hmm. I Yeah. I will follow up with E&M on that. I'm not sure if they've thought about that as well. It makes sense the way you laid it out. And I'll try and get additional context on that. But yeah, thank you for flagging. That's a good point, Derek, as well. Yeah. And yes, Derek is correct. Assuming August plan, about uh, uh, 2 months to get to 95%. Sweet. Yeah. I think that'd be a good one. So yeah, we'll work with Nick on that. Cool. Any additional questions, thoughts on this topic here? No? Any additional thoughts, topics in general? TAP, interesting. What is that? I'm unaware of TAP. TAB, I'm also unaware of that. The Technical Advisory Board. Yes, okay, great. Yeah, thanks for the comment there. Cool. I will grab the forum post. Or advisory board. Effectively, it's a call for yeah, as you could probably imagine, a technical advisory board. Anyone can be nominated. Let me just post the link there. It's a role that essentially folks will have to have a very good understanding of all that goes on in the graph ecosystem, and it will be uh, yeah, effectively a role that accelerates the R&D efforts from the core contributors. Yeah, the person or people, there's 5 members who will be part of this technical advisory board. Will get a grant, and they'll effectively be experts on the GIP process, the GRP process, and they will contribute to various technical discussions, and yeah, act as a technical advisory board effectively. Vote for Pedro. Yes, Pedro would be a fantastic person on the technical advisory board. But yeah, it's an open role. Anyone in the community really can put their hand up. In the forum post, as you can see, a few things about the person, in their name, if they're if you're nominating yourself or someone else, your ENS, Discord name, forum name, email, Telegram, reason for nomination, etc., etc. It's all in the forum post. There's a meeting cadence, so there'll be a meeting and there'll be recurring meetings, at least once a month, but I would imagine more, where these 5 people on the technical advisory board would effectively come together and to discuss various important strategic. Oh no, how's my audio right now? Is it still a bit wonky? It's fine. Okay. All right. Okay, seems just on your side, Derek. But if it's getting messed up for anyone else, please let me know and I'll try and fix. But yeah, that's effectively it. That's it's everything is in the forum post, and actually I think a lot of people in here could be a good fit for the technical advisory board. So if you guys okay, what's yeah. um uh Yeah, so anyone who's interested in being a member of the technical advisory board, you have the forum post there. Feel free to nominate yourself or nominate someone else who you think would be a good fit for the role. Yeah, any particular questions on the technical advisory board, Derek, or anything that you'd? Oh, actually, Nick could actually speak to this because I guess this is a foundation initiative, right? Again, sorry to put you on the spot, Nick. If you've nothing to say, again, no pressure.
I mean, I could say something for sure. So it's all in the forum post. We need members of the community to step up and either nominate themselves or somebody else to form a new technical advisory board. And I think the main objective here would be that the council wants more support on doing a deeper dive on technical aspects of upgrades and proposals and bounties, things like this. So they would be sort of an expert arm to support the council, but also to help facilitate, greater understanding and more technical orientation towards GIPs, updates to things like graph node and stuff like that. So a small group of technical experts that want to be on a board and have a real voice and help steer that part of the protocol. So much needed. Anyone here that knows me, and there's a few of you that do, know that I will not be applying or nominating myself, but I think some people here could definitely do it. So you should do it if you want to do it.
There you go. As Nick alluded to, and wanna if you want to take part and have a large impact on the way that we shape the graph protocol, this seems like a good opportunity to do so. Alrighty. I just want to flag before doing a final call that yeah, Nick wants more indexes on the GRTIQ podcast, so feel free to reach out to him and raise your hand to be on the GRTIQ podcast. It's clearly a very important podcast for the ecosystem and beyond. So I think it'd be a great opportunity. And yeah, if you get on the podcast, you also get a shout out here, which would be nice.
Hell yeah.
So exactly. So feel free to reach out to Nick there. Cool. We're coming into the final 4 minutes, so I'll do a last call for thoughts, topics, questions, things that we'd like to discuss. Now is the opportunity. So, anyone have any things that they would like to discuss? Alrighty. Oh, Alex is typing.
"2,000 years later."
Oh wow, interesting question. Um, not that I know of. Any plans to integrate? So the question is, are there any plans to integrate LLMs into the graph in some way? Not to my knowledge, but if anyone else has any additional insight into that, please do fire away. I see several people typing. Airstack is using LLMs, yes. That is true. So yeah, so for people who want additional context, Airstack is built using subgraph infrastructure, and allows people to get access to the data. And for anyone who isn't familiar with GraphQL, they can effectively use an LLM like a search box and write in plain English what they would like to query on I believe they support Ethereum right now, and also Polygon. Yeah, so who else owns similar tokens to my address, like something like that, and then that plain text will be used to turn into a GraphQL query, and then be used to query their subgraphs. So yeah, I guess that's an interesting use of LLMs in the context of the graph. But that's yeah. And if anyone is curious, I can grab a link to Airstack. It's quite cool, actually. I've played around with it. I often share this with people who have very little experience with GraphQL, and want to access blockchain data. It's quite cool. So yeah, that's the only use that I've seen so far. And then yes, obviously, 𝗨𝗀𝗳𝗀𝗀 is going to open up a whole world of new possibilities, which is going to be pretty exciting. That's going to be pretty cool, and mean that this stuff can exist. Amazing. Kevin's just posted another link, which is a blog post for the survey, providing additional context, so feel free to check that one out. Great. Good to see that we caught that on the call, and it's fixed. Yes, yes, indeed. And I would argue it's probably less than 2 years. The way that things are moving, it's gonna be pretty exciting. Awesome. Alrighty, we're 1 minute over the hour, so I'll take this opportunity to say thank you everyone for joining today's Index for Office Hours. We hope it was useful. We hope, I hope that everyone gets a chance to fill out the survey and share their input. It's very important that we improve the docs so that using substreams and Viho is as easy as possible for new folks and existing folks. So yeah, please do check that out, and thank you everyone for attending. We look forward to hosting you all again same time next week. Enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.